for Monday, March 24th, 2025. If I could ask everyone to please stand for the national anthem. Okay. Okay, call the meeting to order. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, motion to accept the agenda. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the agenda of the regular meeting of Council on Monday, March 24th, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda? Motion is carried. None opposed. Adoption of the previous minutes. Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cadell, that the minutes of the following meetings be adopted as circulated. Regular meeting of council minutes, Monday, March the 10th, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. None opposed. So moving on to delegations, I'd like to welcome the United Counties of SD&G, Planning Legislation Updates, Director of Planning, Economic Development, Peter Young, and Senior Planner, Lindsay Parisian. Welcome. Peter, if also just at the end of each kind of section, if you can just stop and just see if anybody has any questions at that point. So.
Or do you mind turning on your mic? Oh, good.
Thank you, Mayor McDonald, and thank you, Council, for having us. So Lindsay and I are going to give a brief update on some of the newest legislation that's come into effect in the last little while, and also talk about how for certain processes, Council can consider some changes for more efficiency, especially if they're being heard by multiple levels of government. So in this case, there's a lot of planning approvals that require approval of a bylaw passed by Council, includes official plan amendment, zoning, and part law control, and also site plan and subdivision agreements unless delegated. So under delegated authority, there's kind of 5 key reasons municipalities are looking at delegating planning applications. So one would be efficiency. When there's a routine matter that it's non-controversial, it's gone through the process, been reviewed by all the technical agencies, the municipalities can cut down the approval process. Focusing on strategic priorities, so Council's has a lot of bylaws and matters, and some of them, such as surplus dwellings, are mandated by the province, and it's the same report and bylaw each time. So in some cases where there is a mandate to the province or something that's gone through another process, it can help free up some of that time and focus on other issues. Same thing for staff time and bylaws. So I'll give you an example in some of the later slides. Instead of doing large reports for each one, when it's a surplus dwelling, it's we're just rezoning the farmland to prohibit residential development. I know in SD&G we do about 60 severances like that a year, and it's all the same. You have the public meeting and go through the process. But in cases where the county already held a public meeting, Council could say and then look at what the best process would be, whether that could be delegated to staff as long as there are no objections received. Reducing the delays. Sometimes, let's say for a part lot control bylaw, it might just be a technical, like splitting a semi into 2 different lots, and it's already zoned, and a lot of times the semi's already built. But if that part can be delegated to staff, it already is at the county level. Like we already approved those, just electronic signature. It'll just save the applicant time so they can get their mortgage done in time and they can proceed with their transaction. especially in these cases where the building's already built, you're just drawing an imaginary line between them. And again, maintaining public engagement. There's still the public engagement requirements, but let's say instead of if something requires 2 meetings in 2 separate locations for the same matter, maybe they can be combined into one instead of having the county and township each have a separate meeting. So that's a reason that most municipalities do look at delegated authority, including us at the counties. So what's happened is that the province has expanded the use of delegated authority through Bill 13. Council can look at what could be considered a minor zoning amendment, and those are the routine matters. Almost always the surplus dwellings is the most common one, and those are able to be delegated to an officer or employee of the municipality. There can be conditions on that delegation, and it can be withdrawn. At County Council, an official plan amendment was passed to allow the local municipalities of SDG to use this tool if they would like. And again, it can go to a committee of council or to an officer, employee, or agent municipality. And the minor ones, so what is minor? In the official plan, we talked about zoning amendments that required a condition of severance. So severance was already approved. Your condition was you had to rezone the land to prohibit residential use on the farmland. If that's all gone through the process, then that potential second approval could be delegated subject to conditions set out by council. There's other ones, let's say for lot creation, sometimes you might need a variance. Maybe it's a little bit narrower frontage or a little bit smaller than the bylaw requires. As long as it's within those conditions of council, that could be another delegation just to smooth up a routine process. Removing the holding zone, so sometimes if you have a subdivision, there may be certain conditions that would have to be met, such as doing a subdivision agreement with council. In this case, let's say once the agreement had gone to council, staff could do the other approval as long as council approved the first subdivision agreement. Things like that where there's a kind of some duplication. These policies help to speed up the process and build more housing. Temporary uses and garden suites, not a lot of the local municipalities have done that. We include it if that's an option, but those are very specific to the property, so sometimes council would just want to see those anyways, but it's an option for, let's say, certain types of uses like a festival or event. Maybe if they already got a festival permit, maybe they don't need a second zoning if they've already got the other permit. Things like that. So there can be conditions. For example, if there was any objection received during the severance process, then the approval will go to council instead of being a staff approval. You could combine the meetings for the zoning and the severance. And a lot of the other local municipalities in SDNG have looked at this for the surplus dwellings because they are a routine matter and the whole process, all the requirements are mandated by the province. Approval of the severance is by the counties as well, so it's more just completing a process that's already mandated.
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, I can see the sense with regards to the residential dwellings that are being severed off from farming operations. We see so many of those, and as far as I'm concerned, I think the only complicating factor that, has ever concerned me, I don't, sometimes the rest of council or not, is trying to manage to get a little bit more land in those around those severed off houses, so that the properties actually can be more useful to the property owner, and not be those popsicle lots, which may be desirable as far as the province is concerned, but I think municipally, I think we would all agree that they're not desirable, and they don't, for anybody who's looking to purchase them, it's sort of like, okay, well, I've got, what's an extra acre of land? It would provide great value to that property, whereas, for the number of severances like that occur, it's not taking a whole lot of land out of agricultural. So how would we go about kind of keeping an eye on that, as since that's a priority of, let's say, this council, while providing that delegation of authority? How do we do that?
There's a couple of ways. So one, just to go in terms of where the decision made. Usually the size of the lot, that would be made when it's already like the severance stage. So between talking with your local planning staff, talking at the county level, hearing from all the different agencies, there's usually a lot of back and forth. Okay, the applicant may want a little bit bigger lot. Can we fit this barn in? We would talk to the township saying, is this going to be suitable for residential use, or is this, you know, a large farm barn that's not really, you know, that's not going to be run by just someone's house. So I think each lot is looked at by itself. So when it gets to the zoning stage at council, the council's approving what would be the retained lot, so the farmland. So in terms of the severed lot, that's already kind of been established, and it's more the rest of the farmland, just to make sure that there can't be any more housing on the farm lot. In terms of reporting back and making council aware, different municipalities have different ways of doing it, and it's a couple more slides, but in North Stormont, for example, they report back, let's say every month or every 2 months, here's all the bylaws that went through and here's configuration. South Stormont does something similar, so there's a few examples so council can monitor what's gone through. As well, on the county level, we also have a development tracker on our website that if it's just a random time someone wants to look up what are the newest severances, that can be done as well. But I'll just, in a little bit later in presentation, just speak to the reporting back to council, because I think that's an important part of this.
Thank you.
So other types of decisions that can be delegated, subdivision and condominiums, that's delegated in SDG already, as well as consents or severances and validations. We'll speak to site plan as well. And what are the main types? Again, surplus dwelling, garden suites, holding zone, part lot control. And a surplus dwelling is probably the most ideal if it's already got a conditional approval for severance. Who should be delegated authority? When we look at our surrounding municipalities and some of the other ones in the province, usually it's to the mayor and clerk upon recommendation of the planning department. So the planning department will say, here's the bylaw, it's gone through the process, it's been supported by all these agencies, and then there'll be a sign off similar to they're already signing zoning bylaws right now once they've been approved by council. If there's objections, I think all the municipalities SCG that have done this so far just say any objections received, it goes to council right away to make the decision. And in terms of transparency and accountability for these delegations, it could be annually, quarterly, some do monthly, but usually there's a reporting back. Another one too would be just to circulate the notices when they go out. So if council does see a notice and they have a concern, they could raise that particular one too. So some municipalities have said, okay, if request is received within 7 days of getting it, then it won't, by a councillor, then it won't go be to staff anymore, it'll be risen to council for approval. So you can, in your process, you can kind of look at what's the best way to do that. So this is just an example from North Stormont. And they'll just say, here's what the bylaw is for, what did it do, it was a condition of severance, and maybe have a map of the property of what was affected. So there's a few different formats that can use. This is just what North Stormont does. And now I'll turn it over to Lindsay to speak to site plan control.
Okay, thanks, Peter. So I'll speak a little bit more about site plan control a little bit in greater detail, just because it is through some of the changes that the province has come forward with. It is one of the planning applications that has received a lot of changes, mainly being that council is no longer able to approve site plan control applications. The province now requires that a bylaw be passed and that this approval process is delegated to an individual or an authorized person. This could be an officer, it could be an employee or an agent of the municipality. We are suggesting that the mayor and clerk would be identified in this bylaw, and that is just to be consistent with the remainder of the townships throughout SD&G counties. And it's not to say that council can't be involved in the site plan review process. Council can provide comments, they can be informed. However, the actual approval of the application itself must be delegated. So I apologize for the size of the font on this slide, but it is really just to give an example of what the difference in what this process would look like now that the approval authority must be delegated to an authorized person. So typical site plan approval process, we do get a lot of pre-consultation meetings with developers. They meet with staff to go over their proposed development applications. Once they move forward with submitting their application formally, once it's deemed complete, that application then gets circulated internally to the various departments as well as externally to various agencies such as the conservation authorities to review and provide comments. It usually goes through a few revisions and submissions. Once those drawings are finalized and studies are updated and the site plan application is ready for approval, this is where the change will happen, where a memo can then be provided by the planning department or by staff recognizing that the process is complete and recommending it for approval. Together with, this memo can go together with the agreement to the mayor and clerk for signature. Once it's signed, that agreement then gets registered on title, and the applicant is then able to apply for their building permit application, which is a separate process. And in order to keep council informed, what we are suggesting is that, similar to North Stormont and other townships, that an update report be provided to council to just keep everybody informed. It can be annual, semi-annual, quarterly, whatever the case may be, depending on how busy the year in terms of applications are.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, but in order for council to provide comments, we would need, like, if it was anything valuable that was going to be meaningful to the process, it would have to be before it's approved, presumably. So we wouldn't see, like, let's say it's a big site plan. Let's say it's a big deal. I think it's probably important for council to have an opportunity to look at it and at least have some, if there are comments before it's approved. I would think, even though I understand we're not
Yeah.
the approval authority, I get that.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair comment, and through you, Mr. Mayor, I mean, those comments, absolutely, they can come forward, whether or not the developer chooses to go through an open house or just to have a general presentation to council about their proposal. That can still occur. It's just, as you mentioned, the actual approval of the document, of the agreement, that must be delegated by bylaw under the Planning Act. But the opportunity to be informed and to give comments and feedback, whether or not it gets incorporated or not, I mean, that is still subject to the zoning bylaw and the regulations. But that I said, that is the main difference, the approval separate from council.
So I think that's similar to, we're getting a report tonight we're not approving anything, but it's just a presentation to
give feedback,
council.
comments, give your general thoughts, and absolutely, that's still allowed.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on for another topic that's been a hot topic of discussion in the planning world, are additional residential units. So the province has passed several amendments to the Planning Act to be more permissive of introducing these types of units on fully serviced, so that's water and sanitary services in established residential areas. So now you're allowed up to 3 units per lot. But there are additional regulations that have come forward about this. For example, these units can be introduced in single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, or townhouses, and up to 3 is permitted. And as I mentioned before, it has to be on full municipal services. In addition, various regulations the province has come forward with additional requirements that does supersede local municipal bylaws. So for example, technical parking requirements, you can only require 1 per additional residential unit, and this parking stall requirement can actually be satisfied in a tandem fashion. So for example, you have your attached garage, that's your 1 parking stall. The second one can be located directly behind versus requiring it to be located side by side. Other examples of various regulations that have come forward is that the maximum lot coverage has increased to 45%. Some municipalities typically have a lower maximum lot coverage, so that no longer, the 45% is now the maximum allotment. Another change in the regulation is that there's no longer a requirement for that unit, whoever's occupying that space has to be related to the owner. It's all based on the date in which a unit's established. And other zoning provisions no longer apply in terms of, from a municipality's perspective in the zoning bylaws. So for example, floor space index, angular planes, and a minimum size for the additional residential units no longer apply. And again, this is really the province coming forward with these regulations to make housing more affordable. What it does is to encourage more housing stock. More housing stock makes homes and units more available. It's all in that effort and goal to make to build homes faster is the general common theme and reasons why these changes have come forward. Another key document that in the planning world that we were excited about is the new provincial planning statement. In October of last year, the new provincial planning statement became in effect. Some of the key and more notable changes that you'll see is that developers can now initiate changes to the urban settlement boundary, whereas typically in the last PPS, that review had to be initiated by the municipality and was more of a comprehensive approach. Other changes that we saw in the new PPS is related to surface dwellings. So now the province is saying that we can only have one new residential lot per farm consolidation. And in order to encourage the additional, or in theme with additional residential units, secondary units are now permitted on agricultural lands up to 2. But however, this additional secondary unit must be located in proximity to the main dwelling.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lindsay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lindsay, just wondering, it says near primary dwelling. Is there an actual number?
No, my understanding is no, they haven't provided an actual setback. There's no distant number that they've identified in the PPS. So it is subject to, it is situational.
Right.
But it's basically to prevent, that additional unit from being located in an accessory structure on the other side
Right.
of a farm,
Yeah,
for
okay.
example.
Makes sense, thank you.
And they don't have to be related on an agricultural,
Sorry, what was that?
they don't have to be related. You're not building it for your mom, you could build it for somebody else in the community.
That's correct. That's my understanding of this new provision.
Okay,
Yeah,
go
and
ahead. Oh,
sorry, Mayor, on top of those units, you can also build like the regular farm help units. That's treated separately than a secondary unit, so.
Right. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I know the whole build homes faster business. To your knowledge, has this actually enabled any of that, or is it? Maybe that's not a fair question. Never mind the question. I have suspicions about that. Put it that way. With regards to these secondary units and three dwellings on a lot and that kind of thing, do you see potential problems down the road with regards to potential neighborly disputes when you've got one driveway and you've got 3 people who eventually may not even know each other, living on the same lot and sharing probably close proximity? And I just wonder if down the road, we've asked this question to Jacob numerous times, and I just wonder if some of these planning changes are going to end up causing municipalities and residents grief in the future. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Definitely the tandem parking is one that Lindsay and I were just talking about before here. It's, I have to leave for work 6 a.m. The person behind me hasn't moved their car, I have to bang on their door, and the municipality can't really do anything about it. Province has said you have to allow this no matter what in the towns and villages. The other one would be the 1 parking per unit. That probably works great in the city, but depending on the size of the unit in the rural areas, that might be not be enough. We have seen it create new housing. We have seen some developers say, okay, instead of a semi, now I can build a 6-plex, or instead of a single, I can build a triplex, mainly in rental, but it's not a huge number compared to, let's say, 1 apartment building is probably more than all the secondary units.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While we're on this, just to clarify, you guys said it needs to be on municipal services. So in our hamlets, even if we have water, but they're on septics, this isn't going to be allowed. Is that correct?
So that's something that through you, Mr. Mayor, that is something that we've also kind of had discussions about, what does this mean for units that somebody wants to create, they have the space, they have the capacity from a water perspective, but, they're on partial services, for example. And really, the PPS they're not very prohibitive or prescriptive in terms of partial services. I think we would really default that kind of review. We would subject those proposals to additional review by staff. Does it have enough capacity from private services? Can it be accommodated? How many how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms are they putting into this one unit? I'd like to think that we could rely on the township to provide that extra review if it is possible. So that would be situational. It would be subject to additional review.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So just in summary, for my portion of the presentation, so we are, as we mentioned earlier, we are recommending that council passes the bylaw to delegate authority for various planning applications. We do feel like part lot control is a good one, surplus residential dwelling rezonings will be another one, as well as removal of holding zones, and that would be delegated to the mayor and clerk based on recommendation by the planning department, and also to keep consistent with the rest of our townships in SDNG. As a result of the reduced processes of these types of planning applications, council may want to consider adjusting their fees as it has become a little bit more straightforward. And as you'll see over the rest of this year and likely into early next year, we do intend on updating the zoning bylaw to reflect the new legislative changes, and also as we amend our official plan for compliance, you'll be informed and updated as we see fit. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Very informative. Thank you. Thanks. Okay,
Thank you.
we will be, next up is the GMAD zoning bylaw amendment, Lattiser subdivision. Planning Director Sarah Boucher, Senior Architect CAO Alain Serge Marchand, and applicant developer Yannick Lattiser. Welcome. And members of council, you have that, we have it in our packages, but so we also have a hard copy right in front of us, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having us. Thank you, everybody from the council. We are here tonight to introduce you our new development in Alexandria. This development is based on the need of offering new housing for young families, but also to offer an adapted site for seniors to enjoy with our multi-residential building built with elevators, underground parking, large green space to enjoy nature and stay active. This project will also be accessible to anyone with the need to rent or purchase. We were approached and offered this property in July last year, and after several studies and survey, we are presenting you tonight. What we are presenting you tonight became our vision. Alexandria has a lot to offer to citizens with its beautiful central mill pond, but it also has all the amenities, stores, restaurants, schools, hospital, and sport complex that people look for. As you can see, it's my first time with this remote. So this is page 3. So as you can see, we've been doing studies, and in North and South Glengarry, we have a population of over 25,000 people. Nearly half of this population is 47 years old and more. And this is a reason why the project was oriented for a senior. It has the hospital in front also, which is something that reinsures people. With housing costs that will keep rising, studies show that more than 25% of the population will be renting by 2034, which is why we oriented the project with multi-residential buildings. People don't just rent because prices of housing are higher. People also rent because they have less responsibility, less maintenance. They can leave, and they are not worried with the house being well taken care of. So again, for this reason, we oriented the project with more multi-residential, but we also kept many townhomes for young families to be able to come and live in Alexandria. I think there was a need for this, and by doing townhomes, this is the first market in housing for new buyers, but it can still also be purchased by people from different ages. At page, maybe one quick mention, when we've purchased, we had a list of 240 people looking to purchase or rent on this site. That was done previously by the other owners. We've been contacting personally these person, and over 110 of them responded that are still interested in purchasing or renting. So we definitely, most of them were, again, seniors. There's a higher demand for seniors on that site. And people were very happy that the project was going to start there pretty soon. At page 4, we are presenting you our site. So as you can see, we are a bit outside of the village boundary. We are in urban boundary, but there is a gap between the actual housing and our site due to the arena, the sports center. So on page 4, we are showing you all the amenities. There is the hospital in front, as everybody knows. We have like I said, the arena, the Memorial Hospital. The water tower is not far, so capacity was looked, and we know that this project can go ahead. And after that, also wanted to tell you that so I've discussed about the protection between the urban boundary, because definitely we are coming with something that hasn't been built in Alexandria. The property was already at a zonage of 3-story. We are looking to increase the numbers of stories for several reasons. Obviously there is the construction costs, but also by building higher, we are able to offer more green space. And as you'll see in the presentation further, we've been very active on doing lots of park, lots of places for the people to enjoy nature. We are looking to landscape our retention pond so they can become artificial lake and people can sit and enjoy looking at the wildlife growing around these ponds. I will now let the GMAD finish the rest of the presentation, but first I wanted to explain why we've choose GMAD for that project. GMAD is a well-reputed architect company, but they have multiple talent also. They are well known for doing amazing building between Montreal and Toronto, but they are also very specialized in landscaping, and they put a lot of accent to offering green space to new communities. So this is the reason why GMAD was retained on this project. I will now introduce you Ms. Sarah Boucher, which is the Director of Planning, and Alain Serge, which is the owner of GMAD. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at this point from anyone? No? Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'll go through. I'll try to be quick. Okay. So first, for the land, the zoning already allows for mixed use, residential and commercial purpose. Based on the 2020 zoning plan in effect, you have the plan on the left side. We propose revising the subdivision of the zoning plan into 5 new zones as identified on the plan to the right. Zone A1 and B will feature mixed use. Zone A2, C, and E will be reserved for low and medium density residential use, and Zone D will accommodate commercial establishment. To enable the To enable the project's completion, a zoning amendment is planned to allow for adjustment regarding building heights, like Yannick just said, the number of residential parking spaces, and the parking for different type of businesses, commercial, whether local or regional, the setback and minimum lot dimension, and of course, all the infrastructure network will also be municipalized. As first step, the zoning amendment request was submitted last January. Since then, several discussions have taken place with city officials, and we were advised to hold a pre-consultation with the municipal council to obtain a preliminary agreement regarding the proposed project. Following tonight's session, all requests are expected to be submitted for approval to the city and the county by mid-April, with a final decision anticipated by mid-July. And phase 1 of construction, covering zone A1 and A2 from the previous plan, is scheduled for July or August. The proposed development project consists of 5 architectural typologies. These phases present various development opportunities to increase the housing supply while promoting architectural design, commercial growth, and park space within the city. The low-density area in yellow on the plan consists of 2.5-story townhouses. These buildings will be semi-detached with a total of 202 townhouses. The 4-story area in blue, as the name suggests, consists of 4-story buildings, each contain 40 units. There are 5 buildings in total, all connected by underground parking lot, adding up to 200 residential units. Externally, the buildings are evenly spaced, with parking available between them. The southern mid-density area in pink consists of 3 6-story buildings and 2 8-story buildings positioned along the new Central Park. Together, they provide approximately 340 residential units. The northern mid-density area, also in pink, consists of 3 buildings of 8-story with section reaching 6-story in height. In total, they provide approximately 330 residential units and 5,000 square feet of local commercial space along Touchette Street. Finally, the high-density area in red consists of 3 10-story buildings. Together, they provide approximately 400 residential units. These buildings are spaced further apart as the additional floor allows for more ground level space. So the housing typology, building height, and proposed density are the essential component to justify high-quality outdoor layout and abundant communal spaces. For this reason, the project includes a vast cycling network crossing multiple parks and a public square. 8.4% of the space will be dedicated to New Street. 10% of the total area will be used for outdoor parking, and 40% will be green space, of which 42% could be accessible to the public. Okay. In terms of the overall plan, the project includes a total of 1,332 new residential units spread across 16 new buildings and 202 townhouses. More than 1,000 parking spaces will be indoor, with only 874 being exterior spaces. Local commercial establishment will be located in the 4-story building near Touchette Street and on the ground floor of the neighbor on the Touchette Street also. So for landscape in general, we have designed the space so that each area complement the others. The key feature includes in number 1, the private spa area, the number 2, the public square, number 3, transition park, the number 4, it will be nature park with retention ponds, number 5, recreational park for kids, the number 6, a space of wellness area and outdoor gym. The 7th will be commercial terraces. The number 8 will be indoor gym for phase 1. And the number 9, some retention ponds. And finally, in number 10, wooden area with a future potential connection. More in detail, the public parks are integrated into overall development plans. These parks are accessible via pathway and includes recreational spaces that encourage activity. Scrub and urban furniture helps define these areas, each offering a district program tailored to diverse audience. 2 retention ponds define the park on the north and south side, feed by bioswale scattered throughout the project. This could include observation point, recreational park, and natural area dedicated to water retention and biodiversity preservation, like you can see on the inspiration picture. A public square at the center of the project enhances the vibrance of the development. This central space provides an opportunity to create various types of community area. For example, it could feature a community pavilion or public stage for seasonal event. The open space could also function as a public market. Additionally, commercial space facing the square will ensure its use throughout the day by residents and the general public. Potential addition could include a water play area or covered pavilion for seasonal event or community gathering. Some space will be specifically designed for residents, offering services and various activity area. Although these are private space, they will contribute to the overall dynamism of the public area as they are adjacent to the project's pathway and parks. As illustrated in the inspiration images and renderings, waterfront development will include boardwalk, urban furniture, and a communal spa area, which will be developed in phase 1. The Sites Path network is designed to encourage social interaction between residents and visitors while incorporating quiet area. The variation of space along the pathway is a key feature. Aligned trees and urban features structure the space, while grassy open area promote flexible uses. Overall, the project strikes a balance between interaction and complementation. The development includes nearly 2 kilometers of cycling path and 0.6 kilometers of pedestrian trail, totalizing 2.5 kilometers of active mobility routes. So for the architecture, I'll leave Alain Serge take the mic.
Thanks, Sarah, for your presentation. I will talk more about the architecture, but before I would like to say that for us, the mobility of pedestrian, bicycle, it's really important, and there is some studies that says that when people can walk, can move, the life can increase by 5%. which mean all this gesture is really important for the people and for the citizen. How does it work? Okay. Like we said, the yellow zone is low density. It's 2.5 story townhouses. It's residential only. The material on the main facade will be mainly stone and aluminum cladding. The side and the rear facade will be vinyl siding. For your information, this zone, our client, Mr. Ladouceur, will not develop himself this zone. He will sell the lots to other developer or builder of the region, which means it will give the opportunity to other people to be involved. We have the lower portion of the image on the left. You have some inspiration image, but as a matter of fact, it's project that Mr. Ladouceur did in other cities, which means I think it shows the quality that Yannick wants to achieve in general. Of course, we will have an architectural guide that will be prepared to make sure that the lots buyer will follow certain criteria, and we will approve before to make sure that it will be flexible. We don't want to create a burden to them, but we will make sure that it respects the overall vision. On the right side,
Excuse me, can I
yes.
just so when you're talking about the ones that you're going to sell to other developers, that's the initial 232?
It's the it's the
The
202.
Oh, sorry, the townhouse.
Will be sold mainly to the other developers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The blue zone, the 4 stories, this building or this portion, we had chance to think a little bit more about it. Like Sarah says, it's 5 building, 4 story, connected with underground parking. It will be mostly residential, but a portion, the lower right corner, blue corner, the southeast corner, we foresee a commerce there, premises for the community in particular, but of course for the citizen of the city in general. The material, one of the hypotheses we wanted to create in order to unify the whole concept beside the landscape and the pedestrian area, it's to integrate wood into the concept. Of course, it's not wood, it's wood imitation. You probably also the new paneling, siding in aluminum and with wood printing, and it looks like wood. It's really nice, different color, and durability is really long. The reason why wood, we thought that wood would be the hyphen element but in the project, it's because of the nature aspect and the environment and the soft touch. We wanted the building to be warm, and we think that wood is a good option. We will have some stone, like in the 4-story, 90% of the facade will be wood and 10% would be masonry stone. The reason why we integrate masonry, there is the perennial, the evolution or the psychologically, we feel that emotionally for the user there is a perennial effect to the building. It gives solidity, and people who live in those buildings or people who walk around who see the building, they feel that building is stronger and more solid. Two other element was well thought too. We wanted large windows to make sure that the natural light can go inside the unit they can have natural plentifully. And of course, people who live inside the building, they can see outside the surrounding, and which is really important. And moreover, when you have larger window, the units look, when you are inside, when you enter, it looks bigger. The other thing that was important, it was to have large balconies. It gives the opportunity to the clientele or the people who live there to have an extra room in their units. Those balcony is almost, some balcony is the width of the units. Let's say if you have a 3.5, one bedroom, 3.5 units, which is 23 feet, your balcony will be 23 feet long, 7 feet deep, which means you can have an extra living outdoor area. And we thought again it was really important for the citizen who are used to live in the neighborhood or in the city in general. They always had access to outdoor, which means we try to keep that. Of course, balcony, when you have big balcony, you have to treat it in a certain way to make sure the building is not too monotonous or too boring, which means we have different archetype. Next page. Okay, let me. Okay, the mid-density zone, we find it on the south side and the north side. Again, these buildings, we will have a brick, and wood for the south side will represent 30%, and on the north side will represent 15%. I think at this point it's important to mention that the compound in general, it's sloped down toward the north, which means even though you have 8-story or 6-story, we had a section, I don't know if you did look at it, but at the bottom of the page, it shows that even though buildings are higher, it's almost at, of course, it's a little bit higher, but it's almost at level. When you do more story, there is, first of all, it increases the value of the building. It will be uncombustible building, which means it's safer for the people who live in it. But it has different, it has really important positive effect. First, it free the ground because the footprint of the building is smaller, which means you have the chance to have more landscape. You can afford to have more underground parking. Outdoor parking is nice, but it's not indoor parking when you can hide the cars as much as possible. I think it's preferable. You have funds or financing to do nicer landscaping, larger sidewalk, pedestrian park, and that you saw already. And we try to push the building nearer of the street. The reason of that is when the street is narrow or narrower because building is nearer, the car driver have the tendency to slow down, which means it comply or it improve the security or the safety of the neighborhood. At the bottom of the pages, you have some inspiration. You see the different material. The volume is cut by using different material. We have both two buildings that are shown there. They are undergoing in our office. We are developing them in other regions. We took these buildings mainly for the volume of it, and now it shows mainly white masonry. White masonry, when something is white, it looks new, it looks modern, but I'm not certain that's the way we want to go for this Alexandria community. We will integrate earth tone color like red brick, orange brick, brown brick. But it shows, and by using different color, it helps to break the building in height and in volumes. Of course, if you have 100 units, you will have 100 balconies. And the intention is to have as large as possible, which means we will have, it will be really important to work with your professional at the city, different type of balcony design, because you don't want the building to be boring and monotonous. You want which means we may ended up with 5 or 6 different type of balcony designs. Some will overhang, some will be recessed. I think. We have been talking 25 minutes. I don't want to take.
No, continue.
Yeah,
It's a big
thanks.
project.
Feel comfortable. Okay. Now, okay. The high density zone, we propose 10-story building. It's the same thing than 8 or 6-story. It'll be concrete buildings. Again, when you use concrete slab, it's in comparison to wood floor. A wood floor may represent maybe 2 feet thick. A concrete slab is 9 inches, which means if you have 10-story and you lose 1 foot every floor, your building is 9 foot lower, which means 10-story may represent 9-story if it's the equivalent of 9-story in wood, and 8-story is the equivalent of 7 and 6. There is a market for that. Mainly, but of course, a young couple could live there until they have children. When they have children, of course, they will probably buy a house, But after that, the 55 plus or 65 plus, when the empty nester, sometimes it's interesting to go in that type of residential product, because they don't have to worry for their house when they travel during 1 month or 1 month and a half. You don't ask your children or your brother or you to take care of the house, which means you can travel with a safe conscience, and you know that nothing will happen, and you don't have to maintain, you don't have to shovel, you don't have to, which means there is a lot of positive. This type of, again, you have different product for different type of people. One product cannot please everyone, but the advantage is to offer different product. And higher building too, you can have nice amenity equipment and that's what we will have there. We will have interior swimming pool, gym, lounge, co-working area. And the fact that we develop the Alexandria district with different type of product, we will finish if you have only one type to absorb the development, it takes more time than if you have 6 different types, because you will attract different people who are looking for different things, and which means the community will be built faster, and which means they will not live in a construction environment we expect too long. I know that there is a concern about the fire security. Maybe I would like to say a few words, but again, you will do your own research. But my experience, based on 40 years, concrete buildings, it's really safe. And there is some statistics. When there is a fire, there is, in average, sprinkler heads that pop up, and it extinguishes the fire rapidly. Which means a building like that, it's not the fire that is the issue, it's the water. Because of course, if you flood the apartment, it goes down, you may have to fix a few units. And in the National Building Code, the way that the firemen or the crew would extinguish this type, will attack this type of a fire if it happen in this building. It's not with a truck with a ladder that will have access to all the balcony. The firemen arrive, they connect to the hydrant, they connect to the stairwells of the building. They make sure that the system is fully operational, and they enter the building and they save or they help people who has limited mobility. But everything around the cells, a unit cells, is 1 hour or 2 hour safety, which means fire resistant, which means people have time to exit.
Just a question,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, just a quick question. Will the four-story buildings be concrete as well?
Yeah, the 4-story, but we are not sure yet. I think we would like concrete. Mr. Yannick would like concrete because there is a plant nearby. Normally, concrete is more expensive, but now there is a plant nearby. We hope to have better prices. But if it's not concrete, it'll be a light steel structure, which is uncombustible. And again, it gives a better value in the long run, even for insurance. Us, we have client who has same building, same size in wood, and another size in concrete. And in concrete, it costs $250,000 per year to insure, and a wood it's $1 million, which means they don't build wood anymore, but the smaller building, but not multi-residential building. Okay. Whoop. Sorry. You can go in the fridge if you want to.
You're good. You're back up.
Okay. The lower central image, it's a typical floor. In green, it's 3.5. In the turquoise is 4.5. In pink, it's 5.5. And you have lighter pink, it's 1.5. Because of the elevator, it was difficult to lay out. But again, this 4-story building, they have elevator in the center, the common corridor, as you can see when you get out the elevator, you go on one side or the other, which means the corridor is not long. It will be easy to design to make it nice, to make it homey. And on this image too, the balcony, you see the size of the balcony. Some are facing directly, they are directly in front of the units. The corner units, some benefit a corner balcony, which means all different type of design will make the overall exterior concept really, I believe, agreeable. The units are transferred directly on the main floor. Main floor, of course, you have the lobby. You have the stairs in red that exit directly at the exterior. And the 5.5 is replaced by a gym. And on the main floor, of course, instead to have balcony, you have nice terraces. For the moment, we have done 5.5 per building. Again, what is nice when we do phases like that, you adjust to the demand. The first building, you scratch your head, you try to have the right answer to all the different demand. Sometimes it's good, sometimes you miss a little bit. You have too many 4.5 or too many, and the next building you can readjust, which means it's anyway the phases. It's interesting to work with. Again, you have underground parking. In green, well, you saw a typical floor is you have a garbage chute. And in the garage, you have a garbage storage. During the day of the collect, the manager or the janitor of the building will, with the VTT, will take the container, will bring them outside on a pad that has been garbage pad that has been designed for it, and it will be well designed around. And after the collect, they bring back the container inside, which means this keep the exterior aesthetic of the environment and of the building. Cars, you have one interior car per unit. Storage, you have one storage per unit, which means it's always nice when you can store your seasonal gear, during the winter. And we thought it was important to give more storage to the people. Here you have accurate building elevation. You see the lateral facade are mainly wood imitation with a huge balcony. And the street facade or the lineal park facade, they are narrower. You have, of course, wood and stone. With the section of the building, you can see easily the underground parking and the above ground building. The ceiling height is 9 feet, which means we wanted to make sure that, it's nice. If you have more height in a building, you have higher windows, the sun, you have a better view of the outside, which means it was important to provide the quality living. Well, you see the different rendering. At the upper left, it's the wellness pavilion, full of plenty of glass, wood facade or wood finishes. Terrace outside with a direct access to the pedestrian place. The lower, something that I would like, I forgot to mention. Last year, GMAD, we had our research and development meeting or travel in Scandinavia. We visit Norway, Sweden, and Copenhagen, Denmark. Unfortunately, I was not part of the trip, but Sarah was there, the lucky one. And we have Lidzu, who is our director of design. It changed a bit their vision, and I'm sure you notice. Anyway, we have some Scandinavian inspiration. The Scandinavian, they like wood, nature, and I thought it would fit well with the Alexandria development. The lower rendering, the larger one, it's the street view. You can again see the different type of balcony, the details, and on the lower corner portion on the left, you have the commerce. It would be nice to have a coffee with outdoor terraces again. And it's southeast, which means sun will be there. Take coffee during the morning there, or with bread or donuts. Anyway, I think it could be quite inspiring. I would like to thank you to have listened to us. You were really disciplined, and sorry again for the time we spent, but it's a big project, and I think we try to resume. If you have any question, please, we do so.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Members of council, go ahead, Councilor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Beautiful drawings. Question, and this is information for me. What are you proposing? What are you thinking as far as heating, cooling systems? What's that going to look like? Are we talking roof mounts? Are we talking individuals for units?
We did not discuss that so far, but in the industry right now, it's a split system with a compressor on the balcony or on the roof, and we make sure that if it's on the balcony, we make sure that there is a panel in front that hide it, or if it's on the roof, you have a higher parapet to make sure that they are not seen from the environment. The 8-story building and 10-story, maybe I think we could be more, do something more, but it has not been discussed yet. But the 4-story, we are sure. But me as professional, I don't know if you have, but I would suggest a split system.
They are mostly going to be split system to fit with the CMHC financing program to offer for buildings that are going to be more than 40% efficient energetically. So to be able to fit in that program, we need to put split air conditioning with thermal pumps.
Perfect.
Okay.
One more, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Lattiser, I guess, there was mention of rentals and purchases. What's the plan as far as subdividing, and what portions are you looking at rental, and what portions are you looking at for sale?
All the townhomes will be sold. For the multiplex buildings so far, we are expecting to offer them all in rental.
Okay, so all the towns would be for sale?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. I have Deputy Mayor, then Councilor Cadell, and Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Ladouceur, I don't know whether this question is a little premature, but affordability is a big deal these days, what with inflation and the cost of living. And, you know, we've heard from our residents that, you know, they can't afford sort of big city prices, either in rent or in purchase. Is there any plan for any kind of rent geared to income and affordable housing options with this development?
Yes, there is same thing. To be able to fit with CMHC financing program, we need to offer at least 10% and probably more units that are going to be considered affordables. These units are going to be mainly the one-bedroom units. This is why the number is a bit higher for the 1 units in our building so far. It's strange because there is a big demand for bigger units and there is a big demand for smaller units, so we try to position ourselves in the best way that we can to accommodate people, but definitely affordable units are going to be present on our site.
That is very good to hear. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
We've been doing a lot of study to
Yeah.
adjust also with the salary mass
Yeah,
around, and
excellent. Thanks.
thank you.
Councilor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do you have any prediction as to what sectors of the population will be attracted to this? More seniors, more young families? Do you have a prediction along those lines?
At this point, from our survey that we've been doing internally, definitely there is a bigger demand for senior at the moment. We know that the senior population will increase considerably in the next 10 years, but we also wanted to offer, we know that there are companies hiring people that need housing or rental units to be able to have more workers in the area. This is something that was brought to us initially in the beginning of the conception, and the townhomes are also there to supply young family. We think that there's a need for young family housing in Alexandria. This will bring more kids to the school, and the reason why so far the buildings are not going to be only for seniors, will allow young family. There might be, because this is a question that was brought to us, definitely there are some people that want to be in a building that it's going to be all seniors. But I think it's going to be nice if we allow people to get mixed together, so this way the senior can enjoy the young kids playing and it'll be a nicer community. This is what we think so far, but at one point, we'll have to let the customers decide and see if they want to go on the peaceful side or on the more living side. So we'll see as far as we go on this project.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And go ahead.
Well, I gotta say, I like the idea, having started my married life on the 9th floor of an apartment building in Toronto. Once my little guy was 2 years old, it was time for us to find someplace else to go. And so it serves a purpose. And the idea that, possibly somebody could move from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom as their family grows, and possibly even to a townhouse as one becomes vacant, maybe they can, branch out and stay in the same neighborhood. I like the green space idea. It looks great. I just hope you're successful in your endeavors on this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Manley, you said the Nussbaumers had a question. Okay, if we can take one from the floor. Yeah, go.
Yes, thank you for entertaining a question. I just was wondering if the developer at all is aware that you're building within 1,000 feet of an active dairy farm, being that it's a rural community, and how will this development impact our ability to update and improve our livestock, housing, and manure storage facilities in the face of the changing livestock, housing, and environmental requirements that we're forced to comply with? Has this been taken into consideration, given that we're so close to active agricultural practices? And do you foresee trouble down the road for either the residents of this relatively intense urban settlement and our needs as an ongoing business?
Sure, we understand that.
Yeah, Nick, if I could, just so people at home can hear you, just.
Yes, we understand the concern. For us so far, we don't know exactly all the activities that are ongoing on your property. I guess you are the direct neighbor?
Yes, we're your new neighbors.
Yes, nice to meet you. Obviously, we understand that there is machinery going on, there might be dust, so it's just a question of timing. Obviously, we won't get the windows cleaned the week before you just go on. We are open to discuss and see how we can make this happen as much better for both parties. We are open to discuss and see what we can do. Obviously, it's the commercial building nearer to the front. I haven't noticed how deep your farm expands behind. I've noticed that there's a lot of cornfield right now, and I guess they changed it depending on the year. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just maybe explain a little bit more about modern agriculture, what happens on a dairy farm. So as animal welfare becomes more and more of a thing, we may be more mandated to pasture animals. You will see right next door to that cornfield, right beside there is a barn with animals in it. Those animals poop. It stinks. Many of the councillors here are neighbors, and they know that clearly. Our barns, we are legislated for animal control. There has to be a certain amount of animal welfare, so that involves clean, fresh air. So that smell does not stay in the barn. That gets put out into the countryside. Where you're building is very smelly. It's like, this plan is beautiful, but literally, it smells like cow shit. Like figuratively, like literally, that is what it smells like. It's beautiful. But already they've had to, in Ontario in the last 5 years, put in legislation to stop protesting for normal agricultural practices, because the people in Alexandria are incredible. They've been raised in this community. They understand who we are. They understand normal agricultural practices, and they do nothing but to support us. And we, likewise in our community, we have never had large-scale protests, but we've had to put legislation in Ontario to make it stop. And it's because normal city high-rises large-scale buildings, and the people that's concentration, urban development, and normal agriculture practices have not historically mixed well. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So-
basically, yeah, that's.
Go ahead, Councillor Manley.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that maybe Angela and Tony, maybe you can sit down with Mr. Ladiseur too. And
We would do that through,
schedule a meeting through the township here or whatever.
and we do that through our.
Maybe
our
just
planning.
just a quick comment. I have the chance to have great-grandparents and grandparents that were all born in Alexandria. I used to come here when I was very young. They had a maple syrup farm. They were an excavation company. My grandmother is in Glengarry Cemetery. I understand the need of the population. We are not here to have any conflict with nobody, and we are not going to protest against anything. But these days, the buildings are well adapted. This is why we have split level. We understand that there are seasons. It's an agricultural area. We understand that some seasons. I live in Rigaud. We have that too. So we are very comprehensible, and we are not here to protest against anything. I am not that type of person. Yes, you can.
No,
go.
there are no more, there's only just the Nussbaumers who had a question before. It's not an open question period, so. Was it just about the farming aspect of it? Sir?
Yeah, so whenever you fill a building full of people, it no longer becomes up to you. So it's fine that you appreciate what everybody's trying to tell you here, but it's not going to be up to you when the building's full, right? So they could even, if you were the president of that building, let's say, they could even vote you out, right? So if they don't like the smell, they're gonna say something.
They're not condos. They're apartment buildings.
Right?
They're rentals, so the person who owns the company,
People get together and build and so.
they can't.
It's not that they can't, they will.
They can't. So an apartment building isn't a condo board where people get together and they run the building. It's residents that buy there, and of course, that's what it's their project, and that's what they need to deal with. Yep. Okay, so you've heard your question, so thank you. Anything further from members of council at this point? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. And Tony or you guys will go through our planning department. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to, by the way, there are no questions.
Allowed to have any questions at the very end of the meeting?
Well, I can do this right now, we entertained questions about the battery plant at the last meeting. There'll be no questions this meeting, there'll be no comments. No, there's nothing else on this. This is not a public.
You can pre-agree, as she described, that she had a pre-agreement up to this point now, and you have a presence of.
I'm sorry, what are we talking about?
Anyone speak?
What are we talking about? The battery?
We're not talking about the battery.
Well, sorry, I'm asking, what are you here for?
She described that this company had a pre-agreement before today, before her speech today. So what is this pre-agreement that they had? And how come we're at this point?
We're not anywhere yet. We've been given a concept.
Well,
It still has
explained
to.
that this is going forward, and she expects approval by April, right? So when's our next chance going to be able to speak and voice herself? If you don't even let us speak right now.
Jacob, you have a public meeting?
Yeah. Like as GMAD said, they're gonna apply for their zoning bylaw amendment in April. It's gonna be advertised as per Planning Act, and that will be the time to comment on the application.
And so when that happens, what is the procedure for the citizens to renege against this?
For people to come and give comments?
Yes.
Yes, it'll be at that
Be
public.
in the same situation as the battery thing that you're talking about, where it comes to a point where you get frustrated that everyone's here at that point. We want to.
We're not-
And have a voice before it gets to that point.
Absolutely, and we've already discussed this after our last meeting, is that we need to do better and go above and beyond what the province tells us that we have to do when we're notifying people. So we are going to expand that area of notification.
I appreciate that. The neighbor to the new development only found out on Friday.
It's not a public meeting. It's a presentation of okay, I've listened to you, And I'm telling you, this is just a presentation. It's a concept that they're presenting. It hasn't gone to our planner yet for site plan. It's going to come back to the public. You have a chance at that point to make your requests, ask questions, do whatever. That is a fully open public meeting, and you can ask as many questions.
Some questions right now that would
Then offline, you can meet with them outside the council chambers and have that conversation. This isn't the venue for that. It's not, council is not an open venue every night to just answer everybody's questions. You know, you can call councilors prior to this. We will take your phone calls, we'll respond. We do the best that we can.
Well, it's not
So-
about the council, it's about the company that promotes this project. So this is an opportunity to us as a public, please.
This is not. Go ahead. This is not
a public meeting.
This is not a public meeting.
So it's a presentation, right?
It's a
It's a
presentation
presentation.
to council.
That's what it is. It's a
And you're more
concept.
than welcome to sit in and listen to it. It's not for discussion.
Okay, so we are moving on to our next item, and that would be the EVB Lagoon Update Work Plan. Welcome, EVB Vice President Marco Vincelli. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, council members and administration for giving me the time tonight to give you an update on the Alexandria Lagoon project. I'll try to keep this brief. So there's been a long history of studies that have occurred at the Alexandria Lagoon system dating back to 1998. The most recent study was completed in 2017 with the completion of an environmental assessment which recommended the expansion of the Alexandria lagoons from about 3,200 cubic meters per day to 6,500 cubic meters per day to support the growth that has been forecasted within your service area. So following that, the municipality, the township, did retain the services of an engineering firm to design with the recommendations from the environmental assessment, and that was completed back in 2019. In 2022, the township retained EVB Engineering to be the contract administrators for the implementation of the project. Following that, the township applied for funding in late 2024, and in January of 2025, they received the good news that they have received funding for the project underneath the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund from the province of Ontario. So what does that mean? That means the township now has funding of up to $28 million to help offset the costs of this project to the residents here in the township. It's excellent news, long awaited. The only catch with this one is it has to be spent by March 31st, 2028. So what are the next steps? The next steps is to take another look at the design. We reached out to the original suppliers of the Sagar system, which is the main treatment unit that's being put in after the lagoons. And what they've come back to us with is a reduction in the size of those filters. They've done a lot of research on their technology over the last 5 years. So the surface area of these filters have now dropped from just under 7,000 meters squared to 3,400 meters squared. So we're going to be occupying a lot less space, a lot less costs for the township. So again, we're seeing some reductions in the construction cost of this project through that optimization. There has been some information brought forward from the environmental assessment where the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks had allowed for consideration of an effluent limit for total phosphorus between 0.1 and 0.3. The previous engineers designed a system to give you tertiary filtration, which would drop your total phosphorus to 0.1. Because of that decision, it requires very deep, 5-meter deep sand filters to be constructed in a class 4 soil, which is not a very good soil for supporting any kind of construction. So we are looking at going back to the Ministry of the Environment and asking them if we can still go back to the 0.3 milligrams per liter for total phosphorus If we can do that, we can use a slightly different technology. There's many manufacturers of disc filters that can be utilized at this location. Their foundations are about 2.5, 3 meters versus the 5.5 meters deep. It gets us out of the class 4 soils and again reduces the overall cost to the township and its residents. Well, in the
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Just wondering, Marco, do you know, so how long is that process going to take? Do we know, you said contacting them or whatever, do we know what?
It should be rather quick. We're going to be reaching out to the local office. The Surface Water Group is in Kingston.
Okay.
All the communication from the EA, the original people are still around. So I would assume that they'll be able to give us a quick reply to confirm that we are still within that range.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of completing the design and bringing it to the permissions branch in Toronto for
Perfect.
approval.
Thank you.
Any further questions at this point? No? Okay, continue.
Overall schedule for the completion of this project. So we are looking at refining and redesigning these components of the system. I've already reached out to Nexom. They've already provided us with additional drawings for the change in the configuration of their filters. So we're hoping to get this project redesigned by the end of this year so that we can go out for tendering in the new year and hopefully have a contractor on site by April of 2026. If we can have a contractor on site by April 2026, the project should be complete towards the end of 2027. So at which time, there'll be no more restrictions and concerns about the flows at the wastewater treatment plant or any issues with the effluent quality leaving the plant. So I did attach, this is a schematic of the schedule from the previous page. It's there for your review and your reference. We'll meet with township project managers, and I'm sure they'll keep us on our toes in maintaining that schedule, and we'll be back in front of you with regular updates. So we're here to finish this project after many, many years of studying it.
Perfect. Any questions at this point? Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Marco, just quick question about the poor condition part and preloading with ag. What sort of size, what part of the lands are we talking about?
All right, so we had a geotech revisit the site in 2024. The area between the existing lagoon with the aerators, the mechanical aerators, and to the south of that, the soil is really poor. So the intent is to pile on a couple meters of granulars that will settle that area before construction starts. So that material has to sit there for at least 6 months. The geotech experts were saying that if we did not do that, we could see up to a 6-inch or 150 millimeter settlement occur. So your pipes would shear off your structures, and we definitely need to avoid that. So we need that 6 months.
Are we talking about excavating and then adding, or are we adding directly on?
The recommendations from the geotechnical report is just to add it up, add the material on top of the native material, so it'll consolidate everything down.
Okay.
Most of the construction's going to be superficial. It's not going deep in that area. It'll be built up from the natural.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you,
Have a
Marco.
great evening. Thank you.
All right. Take a 2-minute break. We're going to take a 5-minute break and come right back. Okay, we are moving on to staff reports. Community Services Department, CS 2025-04, North Glengarry Stage. Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manley, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report CS 2025-04, North Glengarry Stage, and the Council approves the purchase of the mobile stage trailer identified as staff report CS 2025-04 for sole source procurement, and that staff be authorized to purchase the mobile stage trailer in the amount of $44,774 through the current capital budget allotment, contributions from the Alexandria Lions Club, and Recreation Reserve.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So during the 2025 budget deliberations, Council had requested that $20,000 of capital funding be allocated towards the purchase of a stage for the Township of North Glengarry, used for events such as the Meet Me on Main Street events, Canada Day celebrations, and other community events that would benefit from having the entertainment platform. So over the last couple of months, staff have done a lot of research into stages, varying from platform stages that would be manually set up and transported to events, and then varying from actual trailer stages that could be actually pulled by a truck and are a little bit easier to set up, take down, and provide ease of setup. So in looking at the options, originally in looking at trailer stage options, we did see that the pricing is quite high compared to what Council had already allocated towards the project during the budget deliberations. But in our research, we did find a local vendor from SDNG who specializes in trailer sales. And staff do feel that this trailer that we're recommending this evening would meet the needs of the Township of North Glengarry. So as such, we are suggesting that Council approve this, the procurement of this mobile stage trailer through sole source procurement for a variety of different reasons. Unfortunately, due to the current political climate and associated tariffs, the vendor has confirmed that purchases prior to March 25th will not be impacted by tariff costs. In addition, this is a specialty design trailer, so it is not something that's readily available across Canada or the province. So it is quite something unique that we would be able to obtain from a somewhat local vendor. We have purchased through the Township of North Glengarry trailers from this vendor in the past, and we've deemed them to be reliable. And finally, the delivery date of the trailer would align well with the upcoming events, with the ability to have the trailer arrive potentially even before the end of March. So all of this to say, the trailer that we're looking to purchase would be a 20-foot trailer, which total stage dimensions would be 15 feet deep by 18 feet wide. So as you can see in the pictures displayed, this is an example of a 28-foot trailer. Unfortunately, we weren't able to obtain a photo of the actual 20-foot trailer that we would be looking to procure, but the image gives you an idea of what the setup would be with, as you can see, that fold down stage, railing, stairs, and of course the use of the interior of the stage as additional room. The stage that you're seeing to the left of the rear of the trailer would not be included in this model. In place of that would be a rear almost loading ramp or panel for ease of getting items on and off of the stage. So the stage that we're looking to procure also includes an awning, which would be unique for this stage as it would permit us to use it throughout inclement weather and keep performers or entertainers dry. Also includes the steps and railings. Shipping and delivery is also included within the cost, and we've confirmed that this trailer would be able to be pulled by existing recreation vehicles. So in addition to this, since the 2025 budget meeting, we actually have been looking to partner with the Alexandria Lions Club on the purchase of this trailer, as they also see benefit in having a stage to use for their celebrations, inclusive of the Canada Day celebrations. So they have offered to contribute a certain amount of money towards the purchase of the stage, which will help reduce the overall cost to the Township of North Glengarry. So all this to say, with what's being proposed with the cost of the stage, as well as the contribution from the Alexandria Lions Club, the outstanding amount that would be owed by the township is $9,770, which staff are recommending be funded through the Recreation Reserve. So this is $9,770 over and above the $20,000 that had already been allocated through the capital budget. In addition, staff see a potential opportunity to use the procurement of the stage as a potential revenue opportunity when it comes to advertising or possible rentals of the stage for other public or organizational use. So subject to any questions, this is the research that staff have done on the stage, and we look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Cadell.
Just comments, really. You know, initially, it seemed favorable. We had a band that we were going to book for July 1st that wanted 12 by 24 feet of stage, 2 feet high, and railings were for safety and staircases, and that was going to cost about $30,000, or if we got the one from Las Vegas, it was going to be $35,000-$40,000 the exchange of money. So, you know, and it was made out of 4x8 sections that weigh 100 pounds, and so we would have 8 or 10 of those, and they had to be loaded on a trailer, and it would take all 10 of them, giving you a ton of, half a ton of stuff to get onto another trailer to move it somewhere else. You know, the potential for fingers getting jammed and everything, and then all these legs, each one had 6 legs on it that had to be adjusted for the ground underneath. So this concept is by far more practical, and it's not quite the size that the band that we were looking to book wanted, but it's not too far off. And we just we built the stage at the Legion as part of our renovation, and this is considerably more room than that has. And you know, I know a band that played there last week, and they were okay on the Legion stage. Anyway, so I'm with this. I think it's good. I wasn't too crazy about the wheels, so you can see the wheels sticking up there, but that's there would be people in front of that and people behind that, and even equipment could be put on that spot. You know, so you know, there's lots of depth to it, and to me, it seems like a fair idea.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Just a quick couple of observations. Has this already been built, or will they be building it?
No, so this has already been built.
Okay. It's just the legs that are holding it. I'm assuming it flips down like that, right?
Yeah, so the front stage, exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
would
it flips
flip
off of
downward.
the side of the trailer down like this.
Correct.
Those, yeah, I don't know if the legs look a little flimsy to me that they're sitting on, but just want to make sure that they're going to be they're good and sturdy.
Yeah. The other piece that we did note with this stage is that the, sorry.
Oh, okay. I have a different picture. My picture's different.
It's a different
28-foot example.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
never mind. The picture I have here, the legs don't look like that.
Yes, so my
Okay.
apologies to council. Again, we weren't able to obtain a photo of the actual trailer. The one in the 28-foot model in front of you is the same, essentially vendor that we would be purchasing from, as opposed to the picture demonstrated in your council packages is to
Oh,
simply
okay.
show an example of sizing and layout.
Okay,
So I
thanks.
apologize for.
No,
making that
that's
clear.
fine. Thanks.
Okay, further questions or comments? Could you actually read the, we didn't read it into,
Do you want me to read it?
yeah.
Do you want me to?
Did you read it? Oh, you did?
Yeah.
We're just, thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Thank you.
I didn't read as well without a stage.
Okay, moving on to CS 2025-05, Community Grant Program, second intake. Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report CS 2025-05, 2025 Community Grants, second intake. and that council approves the following grants. Centre La Ville Centre, $3,500. Foundation, Glengarry Memorial Hospital Foundation, an in-kind request of $1,584. So our total is $5,084.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Okay, and moving on to Treasury Department, TR 2025-06, 2024 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses. Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report number TR 2025-06, 2024 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses for information purposes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As per Section 284 of the Municipal Act, the municipality is required to provide an itemized report on the remuneration and expenses paid in the previous year to members of council and members of local boards. These amounts are paid throughout the year in accordance with accounting principles and municipal policies. The township is also reimbursed for conference registration for the mayor and deputy mayor by the United Counties. The statement of remuneration and expenses is attached. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Moving on to Building, Planning and Bylaw Department, BP 2025-09, Zoning Bylaw Amendment Number Z02-2025, H&L Enterprises, Herb's Travel Plaza. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopt zoning bylaw number Z02-2025, and that the bylaw number Z02-2025 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted in open council this 24th day of March, 2025.
Thank you, Councillor. Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the owner for this file, Herb's Travel Plaza, as you all know, on the exit of the 417, address 21160 Service Road, Van Cleek Hill. That's what it looks like right now. So existing gas station, restaurant, storage compound, towing company. So as you know, the company, Herb's is actually doing a severance with the neighbor. The portion of land will be merged with their property, mainly to construct a new septic system that is required for their operation. And at the same time, they wish to rezone the property to accommodate for all of these things, which is basically everything they currently have right now at Herb's Plaza. So all of these uses will now be permitted on the purple portion that you see right there. Since our public meeting, we have received 0 comments from the public, and no members of the agency commented anyway. So so it's been presented for passing, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? We've seen this report already. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Okay. Moving on to BP 2025-10 Site Plan Development Agreement Bylaw number 09-2025, Maxville Manor. Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Massey, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopt Site Plan Development Agreement Bylaw number 09-2025 with the Maxville Manor, owner of the lands as described at length in the Township of North Glengarry, also known as 80 Mechanic Street West, Maxville, Ontario, and that bylaw number 09-2025 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted in open council this 24th day of March, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So all of council is very aware of this file. This is the Maxville Manor Site Plan Development Agreement. staff presented the project back in August 2024, had an inland presentation with the wings and how many more beds and whatnot. So nothing changed really. All of the numbers are pretty much the same. So that's the address. That's what it is right now. I'll skip right to the numbers right here. So it's still proposed, like there's going to be 38 new and 122 upgraded spaces. Out of these 122 spaces, as you know, a lot of them are being demolished and completely redone on a two-story new building composed of 6 or 7 wings, I don't remember. Total measurement of the building will be 13,419 meters in gross square area. So all the new additions are going to be 2 floors. So I just have a quick right here. So this is the existing site plan that you see there. So you see all the wings. 4 of the wings will be demolished, and at the end of the project, it's going to be that. One of the wings, so the one most on the west, was creating some issues, as you know, with the creek that's running through the property. So the reason why it's presented here, basically the Conservation Authority gave their okay with the proposed work. So I'm sure you've read the agreement. There is a section in there especially for what they will have to propose or to present to not Raisin Region, but to South Nation. So they'll have to get the permit before they get to phase 3. So we were everybody agreed that it would just be put in the agreement. So before they start phase 3, which is going to be in a couple years based on their time frame here. So everybody agreed. SDG had no other comments. They're okay with the moved entrance, a little bit of an increase in the intensity of circulation. They were all okay. Public Works okayed everything, so it looks like everything is in order. So that's just a 3D of what it's going to look like. So the 2 shaded wings are the only 2 wings that are going to remain, basically. All the other wings are going to be reconstructed in phases, of course. Parking will be moved at the back, so that's and the current entrance will be changed into an interior terrace type thing. So just to recap quickly, phase 1, which is going to be starting pretty soon, mostly site work. So you're going to see a lot of digging and servicing work. The electrical room, IT room, receiving, garbage, new kitchen will be redone. So everything in the bottom right corner, I guess, if you will, that's phase 1. And that's what they're going to start with pretty soon, I assume. And the parking will be moved. It's going to be a temporary parking for now, moved on the southeast corner of the property. So that's phase 1, approximately 8 months. And then phase 2, which will take approximately 1 year. So a new addition will be built during that phase, 62 new beds. And they have to build some new beds to be able to move the people in there. So they're all of the residents that are there are going to stay there. So they're going to be moved, some of them twice, I think at the most twice. That's what Bernie McDonnell said. They're trying to aim to move them the less they can. So they're going to build a new wing right at phase 2 to move people, construct new elevators. Interior renovations will happen. This will take approximately a year. Phase 3, also a year, which includes the demolition of 2 existing wings and a new 2-story addition for 64 of the beds. So that's when, as you can see, that's the closest ones to the creek. So that's the one that was, I guess, creating some issues, some discussion with the Conservation Authority. So it's been resolved. It's going to stay exactly like that. There's another plan in place to prevent from the erosion and control for the creek. A year and then another year for phase 4. This one will be construction of 2 new wings and the demolition of the rest of the wings and the completion of the interior terrace there. So another year for that. And that's what it's going to look like when it's all done. So yeah, we've I guess constructed the site plan. It's a little bit different from the ones we normally see. There's just a little bit more wording for protection for the Conservation Authority. Besides that, everything is like to protect the township from work and whatnot. Everybody agreed to it, and yeah, so that's everything that was evaluated during the process. Not going to go through them all, but yeah, in conclusion, Mr. Mayor, the proposed development has been designed to conform with municipal and provincial guidelines, along with site-specific constraint criteria. The applicant submitted all the required documents for the site plan. Proposed development is compatible with the adjacent uses, and it also concludes that the proposed development can meet all the servicing constraint and associated requirements. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on this? Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. There are none opposed. Okay, moving on to Public Works Department, PW 2025-01, crack ceiling equipment rental rate. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manley, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receives report PW 2025-1, crack ceiling equipment rate for information purposes only, and that Council authorizes the rate of $75 an hour for rental of crack ceiling equipment and a $35 for a mandatory operator, or a combined rate of $110 per hour.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll try and make this quick. We've had, all of council have seen the crack ceiling operations. I think when we brought the fees and charges bylaw, there was just some question whether it was too low. We had broken out a $75 an hour rental for the crack ceiling equipment, but that must be rented with an operator. So it's actually $110 altogether. To give a small breakdown, I have the actual, what we ended up charging back the counties for the work on County Road 24 and Dunvegan Road. It cost $7,714 in total. That includes the rental of the crack ceiling equipment, all the operators, the foremen, support operators for loading the material, the additional pickup, and the box of material. That's all from the OPS standards, of Ontario Provincial Standards, for the rates that we can charge out. And I think I calculated in there that we need about 60 operations similar to that, where that would pay for all the equipment in its totality. However, I don't think this is a hot ticket item. I'm not under the impression that, so many municipalities or different areas are going to be, looking for the crack ceiling operations. Especially as the further that you get away from North Glengarry, the more it doesn't make sense, because you're paying for that travel time. Say it was in North Dundas, you have to travel all the way across an entire municipality before you can start work. So really the benefit for us is being able to keep our roads in good standard. It goes together with our roads in need. Our Roads in Need program to switch to a higher quality of asphalt and to make sure that we can maintain those roads as we go forward. What's way more important to me is to make sure that we can keep this equipment in good operation. One of the things that you will notice is as we do the crack ceiling, the end of that wand can pick up dirt and materials, and so that's a big concern. We want to make sure that's cleaned off properly and not put back into the tank. So you can actually put that back into the tank, and then that material can drop off into our tank. So that's why there's a mandatory operator with it. And so we just want to be very careful as we're renting this out. But it was a very successful operation with the counties, and I do anticipate that it will be used more. I just don't think it's something that we're going to get, 4 or 5 requests from municipalities as we go forward. I'd love to be wrong, and if we do run into that case, then we can look at hiring temporary workers to assist, and so we can keep our own road operations going and rent it out. So the possibilities are there, and I think as we see the directors kind of come and inspect the work and the long-term effectiveness of this treatment, I do expect it to pick up, but that's what the rate is.
And where are we crack sealing this year?
through you, Mr. Mayor, we are crack sealing any of the water breaks that happened over the winter to make sure that we get a good level on those. All the roads that we paved 2 years prior, we'll be inspecting and making sure that we hit any of those cracks. That is probably the main focus. And then the foremen go around and do their inspections, and if they see areas that particularly need it, then those are added to the priority list as well. So, and if any of the councils have any roads that seem to be in good condition but have clear cracks, please let us know as well. Just keeping in mind that low class bituminous roads we cannot seal. So LCB roads, they don't work with the crack sealing.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Manley.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that we're looking at other options for other municipalities, but I think the priority has to be our roads. We have to make sure that our roads, now that we've got this plan in place or whatever, that our roads get the crack sealing that they need to or whatever. I can't wait until we have all our roads cracked, in HBC roads or whatever, so that we can do that. So.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. There are none opposed. Okay, moving on to PW 2025-02, leased wheel loaders. Councilor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving to myself, seconded by Councilor Madden. The Council of the Township of North Glengarry receives report PW 2025-02, leased wheel loaders, and that council authorizes the buyout of the lease for one WL32-WO303 wheel loader from lease 64776, and that council authorizes the Director of Public Works to retain one of these loaders for township operations.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with the closure of the RAR plant, there were 2 loaders that were being used by the operations there. Those loaders were leased. So just having a look at now that there's been some time since the plant is closed and we've been able to do some more planning inside, we think it would be beneficial to hold on to one of these loaders. We think that they do have good residual value after, as they are heavy equipment. So we think it is very much worth holding on to them and utilizing them, because going and buying a second-hand one to do the sort of operations that we need to do would be very expensive. So they're both in very good condition, and if we hold on to one of them, we can not only use it for supplementing public works operations, they can be fitted with you can actually fit them with a plow and use them for sidewalk operations. You can fit them with brushing equipment and do brushing operations in town. You can also put them with a tow-behind salter. So a very flexible piece of equipment, and unlike our sidewalk tractors that we have at the moment, it's very easy to get parts. They're very ubiquitous. You'll see these whackers on many construction sites. I've worked with them a lot before I was a public works director. And so yes, we very much hope to hold on to one of them. The main benefit is for material handling around the new public works garage. We do need to hold on to them, or need a piece of equipment to be able to help dismantle some of the old sorting equipment that is in there. And so we had originally planned to just continue leasing it for that period, but as the lease runs out in March, instead of renewing, we think it would be better just to utilize the rest of those funds to purchase it outright.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Go ahead, Councilor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim, just a quick one. One's 8 years old, one's 9 years old. Is there any knowledge, or is there any difference in them in terms of how they've performed, or issues that we've had with them? Like, is there a benefit to one versus the other, or are they literally been behaving just the same?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, very little difference between the 2 units. We have picked a favorite, the one that we want to hold on to, but it's very marginal. If we had the one that was 9 years old and a few more hours on it, we'd still recommend keeping it.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. PW 2025-03, 2025 gravel tender award. Councilor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Martin, that the council receives report PW 2025-03, 2025 gravel tender award, and that council authorizes the award of the 2025 gravel tender to GIP paving for $384,540 plus HST.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we do this gravel resurfacing every year. It's a little bit different this year because we've asked for a smaller amount. The reason that we've asked for a smaller amount is we piloted last year, instead of just blindly putting the same amount of gravel on each road, we've started to do a survey and then just put them on the gravel roads that really need it. This has let us stockpile a little bit of gravel, and this year we're able to actually reduce that budget. So in 2024, I think we were looking at 300,000 tons of 30,000 tons of gravel, and which was a cost of around $420,000. So this is a little bit over what we had actually projected, just because of the rates have increased, but we still think it's very fair and within the margins, and so we do recommend awarding the gravel tender.
Okay, thank you. It's, I mean, both the tenders were very close, so that makes you feel a little bit better about the tenders. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Madden, and then Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim, just out of curiosity, was there any indication from Blair, like they had a reasonably significant jump compared to GIP? Did they give any indication? Was there anything there? I'm just curious.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they didn't give any indication, but just from looking at the market conditions from last year and this year, it just seems that Blair was hungrier for work last year, and so we probably saw a bit of a discounted rate.
Okay, Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim, I'm looking at the map now that you had both posted. I'm looking at Egg Road. Can you bring that? Jenna, do you have that map there?
Give me 2 seconds, I can see if I can pull it up.
Oh, well, never mind it. I'm just wondering, the end of Egg Road where it turns into Hugh Kennedy, I can see that is going to have gravel on it this year. Is Egg Road going to have any gravel? Because the end of Egg Road is gravel. So I'm just wondering if it could use it. I know it.
Yeah, for sure.
Through Mr. Matt? Yeah, absolutely. So Robbie, what has been very nice is we've been able to, instead of doing one shop doing one half of the township and another shop doing the other half, they work as a team and go around. We actually have a decent amount in the stockpile as well.
Okay.
So Robbie does make those common sense decision as he goes to say, I'm not going to stop here and not do a section.
Yeah.
This is just a general indication of where we're going to place it.
Thank you.
Furthermore, if you do find that there are areas that need more touch-up, please send Public Works a direct message, as we are also have a stockpile there, so we can also move the plans around.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What was the budgeted amount, Tim?
It was 10,000 over or something. I read. It was in the report somehow.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I didn't see it.
Through Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
375.
375?
So we're about 10,000.
So 10,000 over. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Public Works 2025-04 EV charged project cancellation. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manley, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receives report PW 2025-04, cancellation of Alexandria EV charger project and reallocation of funds to the Glengarry Sports Palace parking lot refurbishment. And the Council of the Township of North Glengarry approves the cancellation of the previously approved EV charger project at the Main Street Municipal Car Park, and authorizes staff to formally notify the Ministry of Transportation regarding withdrawal from the program. And that Council approves the reallocation of funds originally budgeted for this project to support the refurbishment and necessary improvements to the Glengarry Sports Palace parking lot as part of 2025's resurfacing projects.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we applied for this grant in 2023. It might have even been a little bit earlier than that that we started, but it took a very long time for us to hear back. And originally we had applied for $110,000 worth of funding. When the grant came back, we received $90,000 worth of funding, which was still a lot of money and still seemed like the project was, very well funded and still worth the municipality doing. One of the bases of being able to go and do this grant was that it wasn't just going to put an EV charger into the municipal parking lot, but it was going to refurbish that parking lot and make it better for all of the users. Since we took that report, we found that we've gotten a lot higher estimates just for basic construction costs. The grant was a lot lower, as I said, and we also did a little bit of testing that found that the base of that parking lot needed to be redone. I also suspect that we need to do some storm drainage work. There is also some questions about the insurance cost for the EV chargers coming in. So in light of all of these factors, the other projects that Public Works also has on the go, and the probability for this project being an overrun on costs, we think we advise at this time that we think the best use of municipal funds is to withdraw from the project and put it into doing the GSP parking lot, which is, as I had mentioned in my last report that we talked about this, that is probably the next piece of municipal parking infrastructure that I would recommend refurbishing. I think I had also put an estimate at the bottom of my report saying that I'd estimated $150,000 to do everything within the GSP parking lot. We actually got some of that pricing back, and our contractor came in about 1/3 lower than what we had estimated. So that is part of the parcel of that work being very copy-paste. It's not a big urban cross-section. It's not this complicated urban environment that you're trying to do this work in, so we can get a lot more paving done for a lot little. We can also utilize SDG supervision. They have some staff who are expert at this, so we can continue our operations while they can pave. So we believe this is the best way forward for the year and give the municipality the best result.
Okay, thank you. And the parking lot, when will that get done? Will that be on next year's?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I have suggested in the report that the best thing to do would be to allocate some funds next year to do a design, because it doesn't seem as it is as simple as we thought. There is also quite a strong possibility of integrating it into the Main Street redevelopment. That would make the most sense to redo that parking lot at the same time, as it's such a focal point along Main Street. And then if you're redoing the sewer, the storm, and the water for Main Street, it makes sense to do the municipal parking lot at the same time. The other thing that we need to think about there is some temporary temporary parking so we can relocate some of that really needed space in that parking lot while the work takes place as well. So essentially, one of the big reasons for postponing this is that it's not a project that we should rush into with the various components that make it very complicated. So I'd suggest bringing a designer on board. I don't think that there's room in the budget this year to bring on a designer. However, the counties have reallocated the money for the Main Street project, so I can start, and this council has also put money aside to do some design work with the same consultant so we can get all of the aspects done at the same time. So without making any promises, I think that's our best way forward. And once we have a comprehensive design, either with the Main Street project or separately starting next year as a budgeted expense, I think that's the best way forward.
Okay, you're going to need to get in there, though, there are some very large potholes in there, so I think we need to get those fixed up, because it's, the parking lot is brutal, so. Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim, just, we're talking 110, 120. Ideally, if we get away with it at the arena, we had 90 for the parking lot, so what are we doing with the difference?
Through Mr. Mayor. So it would essentially go onto the LCB roads list and just become one of the priorities. So it's actually under 100,000 to do the GSP parking lot with what the final estimate came in, which is nice. So there's about $10,000, which is about what's that? 100 meters less of LCB road, and actually our estimates they're all numbers that I'll let SDG present first, but all of those numbers came in lower. So it looks like we just integrated into that contract, and the whole contract's going to be under anyway.
Okay, any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? The motion is carried, none opposed. PW 2025-05, award Center Street replacement, bridge replacement to Clearwater Structures, Inc. Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move by myself, second by Councillor Massey. The Council of the Township of North Glengarry receives report PW 2025-05, award of Center Street Bridge replacement contract to Clearwater Structures, Inc. And the Council approves awarding contract PW 1281, Center Street Bridge replacement to Clearwater Structures, Inc. as procurement under negotiation under Section 21F of the Township's procurement policy. And the Council authorizes the Mayor and CAO to enter into an agreement for the construction of Center Street Bridge with Clearwater Structures in the total amount of $854,587 plus HST.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're very happy about this. As you know, we did Dominion Street Bridge replacement last year, and we also did some repairs on Bishop Street Bridge. The contractor really performed well for us. They responded really well to council and administrative requests to do things in a certain way, even if they're not obliged. And we went and negotiated with Clearwater again, and we did a comparison with their pricing from Dominion Street Bridge, and they have held or bettered their rates in many cases, and in some cases where they've increased those rates slightly, we've found good reasoning for them to do that. This does come in under budget, depending on what our engineering costs end up being, because those are additional to this as well. But we do recommend the replacement of the bridge. It's carbon copy really from Dominion Street. This is, you can see a good representation here of how we treat the heritage handrail. This was the design that we could come up with that meets the intent of the old heritage rail while still being very constructible. So we intend to use that part of the procurement policy that lets us just award this by negotiation instead of going out for tender. And because I think that we're going to get a lot more knowns just due to the nature of the bridge being so close and such a copy of Dominion.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one question. Temporary creek bypass, how is that? Is that just cutting it in half or redirecting it somewhere else?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's lots of different ways of doing it. How we did it at Dominion Street Bridge is we actually put several culverts, temporary culverts into the river, and then we're able to put some, essentially create like a low-level river crossing that then we could use to work off of. Sometimes you do a cofferdam on different aspects where you need to set up scaffolding or access the river bottom for different reasons. Bishop Street Bridge, we're able to just put scaffolding straight into the water and then work off that. So yeah, lots of ways of doing it. I think that this is going to be a temporary culvert similar to how we did Dominion Street Bridge.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. None opposed. Okay, no items under the consent agenda, no new business. Notice of motion, next regular meeting of council is Monday, April 14th, 2025, here in council chambers at 6 p.m. We do have a question period, and I just want to make a statement before that question period that we won't be taking any questions on the battery plant. We have reached out to Clearwater Structures with many questions. We've received some questions back. Sorry, Compass. Clearwater was our bridge guy. Compass. They've reached out to us with some answers already. And that was been circulated to council. We're going to come back. We still have more questions. A lot of our questions center around notification and how that worked with the company. And we haven't forgotten the meeting 2 weeks ago. We are working on trying to get some answers for people, and we will, once we get some answers, we will pass those on to other people. Okay. Are there any other questions of note for anything else? Yes, please come up to the mic. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. My name is Richard Vidon. I'm a widow, a veteran, a senior citizen, a taxpayer, resident of North Glengarry. I'm on a limited pension. Anything that will or may increase my tax bill in the future is a major concern. When the rezoning of a property or any project or other township action is to be approved by our council, that will raise taxpayer rates by a significant amount. And I mean, I'm looking at things like $100,000, and our tax base is not that big. That will affect me as a taxpayer and all of you guys. Mm-hmm. That's my major concern. And so why are all taxpayers not advised by email, which is an easy give, or by regular mail, a little more difficult, when emails are not available, of such rezoning changes, projects, or action, when all taxpayers will bear the burden of increased taxes because of these? So that's my question, is when a major project comes around, and it's, whether it comes out of reserves or a future planning of the tax budget, it's a major concern because my revenues are limited.
Yep, understood, and thank you for your question. I think that as councils, we've been having conversations about how we will do better notification for people. I think that you'll start seeing more things. I mean, it appeared that Facebook seemed to catch many people's eyes. I know sometimes it's not everybody is on Facebook. Please sign up to our email list or so we just don't have everybody's email. So we try to do the best that we can to get people. Yeah. So we've taken that and we will do a better job at it. So thank you for your question. Any further questions or comments?
My name is Heinz Kaswan. My question is to the council. What public notice provisions and in what specific ways, if any, have been altered by the SDG Council that was proposed today, and by bylaw or any process?
Nope, that's a good question as well. So in that, those were just recommendations that were brought forward by SDG. Deputy Mayor was concerned about that as well. How do we come up? How do we get notified? And even for members of council, so how do we pass those notifications out to members of the public? That was not a fait accompli, what we saw tonight. We will be debating that in the future. I think some of the ones that we were talking about were more the, rezoning so that you can't build on, after a severance is done, that you can't build on agricultural lands. Those are passed without any those are the ones that we're more looking at to do. I don't think there will be anything complex that we wouldn't allow to come to the council table. And I can promise you that we will do our best to again, educate the public on what we do, but I also encourage that the public has some work to do, and that is to follow our meetings, see our agendas. I think it's go to our website. It's important, and it's a job for both sides of the coin that everybody works together for to be better informed.
I agree, yes. A follow-up question.
A follow-up question as well. I applied to make a presentations to the council for the last meeting, and it wasn't approved or didn't take place. So I was under the impression that if it didn't take place for last meeting, it would be pushed to this meeting, which did not happen. So do I need to reapply or request?
Your request was in regards to?
BESS in this particular case, yeah.
So I'm going to tell you, Heinz, all we do and all we were responsible for was a zoning amendment. Even if we decline that zoning amendment, they're going to go to the province. They're going to they'll put in what do you call it? An appeal. Sorry, thank you. They'll put an appeal in, and because the province are pushing these, they're gonna force us to accept it anyways. Is that a good explanation? Not really, but that's the reality of what we're doing. We were responsible for a zoning change. If the real people that you want to is IESO and the provincial government. They are responsible for putting out the mandate to put these out there.
Yeah, we understand that as well, and these are in progress as well. But at the same time, we want to find alliance within you as a council, as this project is being pushed upon this community against the will of the community, really. And we are asking for your alliance in that matter. And if you have the choice, the power of choice, really, as you do have the choice. I encourage you to take advantage of that choice, because if you say, you have no way to stop that, for me it doesn't really align with the concept of having that kind of a choice and making a choice in your vote as a council here as you represent the men and women of North Glengarry.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. If you could please give us your name and...
Yes. My name is Robert Russell, although people often call me Bob. I just want to follow up on what Heinz was talking about. I'm concerned about this SDNG planning initiative of delegating so much authority away from a local council. And, I think delegating plans of subdivision, plans of condominium, land divisions, or otherwise called consents to sever, site plans, that just seems like too many categories. And, there were examples given of what would be minor. I note the examples were called suggestions. That seems like a very broad way to describe how you're going to manage this process. You know, if there can be 4 or 5 suggestions, why couldn't there be 20? I don't think that's good enough. You guys will have to decide about that, what your residents want. I guess, you know, that really pretty much sums it up. There was also mention of validations. Now, I have some knowledge of planning, and I kind of wonder, what are validations? I never heard of that approval process in my life. Does anybody have any idea what SDG planning?
No, I'm not aware of it.
It was the last thing I think mentioned after the other things I've just mentioned.
Well, I can just, I'll tell you that from our discussions tonight, that I don't think that we're planning on allowing a plan of subdivision that affects our residents to go ahead without council, first off, having a public meeting here and being able to ask questions. So you won't see that. I think what I can't speak for all of council, I can just speak for myself, is that those very easy ones that are just basically is what we're talking about. None of us want to, we're paid to be on council and we're paid to do our job, and just to delegate everything away is not, I don't see how us proceeding that way. So go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
You know, because we've been having this discussion for a while. This isn't all brand new. And all along, I agree with the mayor. You know, the stuff that is no-brainer stuff. It just wastes people's time. But the stuff that isn't just cookie cutter, it's very important that council get their eyes on that, and that it come to the council table so that whoever's in the chambers can witness it, and potentially have questions, and similarly if they're watching it online. They're also, and he addressed it in his presentation, we have to be very careful about eroding accountability and transparency as well. And we're all fully aware of that. And so the more delegation of power you have, it's not that it's not transparent and it's not accountable, it just can appear to be that way. So we're very conscious of that and have, I think, every intention of making sure it doesn't happen.
And the reason for this delegation of some of these very no-brainer, easy ones is because it holds up the resident. By the time it has to come to here, it's a 4-week process. Then it's got to go back to the counties. It's another 4-week process. So we're just trying to cut down on something that's as easy as delegating, or as easy as rezoning that you can't build on severed agricultural land is a no-brainer. I mean, we have to protect our agricultural land that way, and that's what those are for. So, yeah, go ahead.
Just to give you an answer, validation ensures that a planning application contains all the necessary information and documentation before it can be officially registered and processed.
Okay. That's going to go on with every planning process, where you fill out paper. All right.
Exactly.
Never heard it described separately. Okay. Just one final comment is that, there's many different types of site plans, for example, and all these other types of planning activities. And there are some that are very complex and problematic, and there are some that are very easy. It seems to me that in other municipalities, probably for decades, these things have been delegated. Like I don't know the background on your council, but it just seems, I'm a little surprised that some of the easy stuff wasn't delegated decades ago. Yeah. That makes sense, as long as you don't go too far and start delegating things that residents get angry about. You know,
it's been more of a discussion at the counties in the last couple of years. Since Peter came on, he's very professional and wants to streamline things. So that's more of where it's coming from right now. Peter's been making these presentations at other local councils as well. And everybody will, as he said, North Stormont jumped on it right away. and we haven't yet. So it's something that we'll be discussing at future council meetings.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. There is no closed session tonight. Confirmation bylaw, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopts bylaw 10, 2025, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, and that bylaw 10, 2025 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted in open council this 24th day of March, 2025.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And Councillor Massey?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden. There being no further business to discuss, the meeting was adjourned at 8:39 p.m.
All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening, and our next council meeting is Monday, April 14th. Thank you. Have a good night.